in an incredibly nervy 90 minutes plus 10 minutes of stoppage time, the U.S. men's national team in their third group game, the all-important decisive third group game against Iran, eke out a tense and nervy 1-0 victory. A victory which will see the U.S. go through to the second round, a game which will take place Saturday, and we'll get into all that in a minute. But for right now, we are reveling in this group of players, that came into this tournament injured and hobbled, have come together to make it through to the round of 16 of the World Cup, the stated goal of this group from the beginning. It is time to get into this game, talk about all the thrilling and nerving moments that were the USA's 1-0 victory over Iran. All that and more on this episode of The Anchor Report. What's up? My name is Sam. This is The Anchor Report, a show about all things American soccer. And this is quite a time for American soccer. If you're into that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You can become a member. You can directly support the channel by clicking the join button below. Let's get into it. Let's introduce Brad. But before we do, here's a word from this week's sponsor. Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. Bet online, where the game starts. Brad Pauly, I don't know who I am, where I am right now. I have no idea what's going on. That was an intense 100 minutes of soccer. The USA come away with the 1-0 victory. How are you feeling right now?
This eye has been twitching for an hour. I can't feel my legs. Oh my goodness gracious, they did it. Hey man, I don't care how they did it. I don't agree with some of the subs, but for the love of God, they did it. And on to the 16 we go, man. The baby Eagles. Gotta love them.
Some incredibly gutsy performances on display in this game. Let's take a second and each kind of isolate one performer. Who stood out to you in those dying minutes as someone who really stepped up for this team?
Honestly, it was Walker Zimmerman. The dude was going up for every header, and he won nearly every single one. Bringing him in, he probably, he's a pro. So if it were one of us, we would probably have that Wales foul in the back of our mind, but not him. He went in there. He did not show any fear. He was just a consummate professional, and good for that young man.
Incredible for him to step off the bench like that in that moment and just dominate the air. In a moment where it seemed like none of our other center backs were winning headers, Walker came in and just won everything in the air, which was critical in those last 5 minutes for sure. I thought Yunus Musa was incredible. I thought Yunus Musa, man, just gutsy. You could tell he had nothing left, and he was just, my goodness. 427 Motorsport LLC, one of the newest members here in the Anchor Report, says, so proud of our guys. They were able to overcome Iran and Berhalter. There were some interesting substitutions in this game. We'll get into it in a second. Let's go through the lineup and kind of talk about player-to-player performances. Actually, before we do that, let's go over some of the goals, the goal sequence and the disallowed goal sequence, because just some incredible soccer on display. I mean, the U.S. was peppering Iran's goal in their back line, I think, for a large part of that opening say 40 minutes or 45 minutes of this game. Eventually, Weston McKennie steps into a pocket of space. The ball comes to his feet, and he sees Serginho Dest making a run in behind. He plays it long to Serginho Dest. Serginho Dest squares to across the 6-yard box, and Christian Pulisic charging in, beating every other player to that ball, gets a volley, puts it in the net. In the process, runs through the Iranian keeper, seems to have, at least from the broadcast, they say picked up an abdominal injury, is unable to continue after that. He guts out a few more minutes until halftime, but he's not able to come back for the second half. But beyond that, thoughts on that opening goal from the U.S.?
I didn't celebrate it initially because I thought Serginho Dest was offside. But then on the replay, you just see he timed his run so well, and Weston put the ball just on an absolute dime for him. So that was just so impressive. And for Christian to put his body on the line like that, I mean, he has been under so much scrutiny. His club situation has been picked apart so much, and all the pressure that has been on him. He has been the poster boy of this federation since he was a kid. And he was there on that night against Trinidad and Tobago, and those ghosts are definitely in his mind. But those demons have been purged tonight because he was not going to let anybody stop him. He was a little bit behind on that run, and he made up that distance. And gosh, so happy for the young man.
Incredible moment from Pulisic. I'm so glad he was able to get his World Cup goal. Hopefully, he's able to bounce back for the next game Saturday, because boy, oh boy, we need him. And I think the performance dropped off a little bit in the second half whenever he wasn't on the field. Also, in the first half, we have another moment where Weston McKennie plays a really nice ball. He sees a pocket of space open up for Tim Weah. Weah making another one of those patented runs that he does across the back line. He times it almost perfectly. Weston McKennie plays a really nice ball into the box. Tim Weah meets it and plays an inch-perfect shot, first time with the outside of his boot, that kisses off the far post into the back of the net. Upon further review, I mean, the replay looked like he was on sides, but the whatever FIFA official goal line technology, offsides technology rules that Weah was slightly offsides. So we end up going into the half 1 up instead of 2 up, which would have made it a considerably less nervy first half. But I thought Tim Weah was another one of those performers that was just phenomenal all night.
I think he was great. He was running around giving his all, and it's a game of inches, or in this case, it's a game of millimeters decided by a computer that we don't have access to. So I just think, one of the things we talked about was, will his verticality, will his speed, being able to get to the byline and send balls in, will that really be an asset in this game when Iran are going to be bunkering so much? And it turned out that it did.
Yeah.
That's nothing for us to worry about. But for the love of all that's holy, man, how much easier would our lives have been if the offside flag would have stayed down? I mean, my hair's a little grayer. My eyes, I mean, would have been slightly less puffy. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought, as you said, Weah's speed was a huge factor, so much so that it was difficult for Greg to take him off. I think you saw throughout even the second half, one of the few outlets, as we began to get a bit more defensive and Iran started pushing numbers forward, one of the few outlets continued to be Tim Weah's ability to run down that right channel. He was dangerous all night long. And I think because of that, we ended up with that situation where I don't think Greg Berhalter was going to take off Tim Weah for Gio Reyna, someone who would play a little bit more like Brendan Aronson on the other side and drop in, and we would lose that ability to tack in behind. I remember the Japan game where the front line was Aronson, Reyna, and Jesus Ferreira, and that was an issue there. So I kind of first saw Gio just not having an opportunity to come into this game. Sucks just not having that guy play, because we know what kind of phenomenal player he can be. But let's take a minute to talk about the guys who were on the pitch. Let's start with Matt Turner had some opportunities to come up big a few times in this game. He had some pretty decent distribution, actually, the few times where he was called upon to do it. Thoughts on Matt Turner in this game?
I thought he was great. I think there were some times where I was just like, oh my God, just boot it long. And then he played a great calm pass that led to a great buildup from the United States. I mean, we were all behind Matt Turner because of his shot stopping ability, but since he went to Arsenal, man, he has become a really good distributor of the ball. And it's something that he has in his bag now, and that has become an asset to this team.
It's so crazy. He spent a few months in North London, and all of a sudden he can play with the ball at his feet. Like, that wasn't something that we saw throughout World Cup qualifying. Shout out Spicy Pineapple with a $1.99 donation saying believe.
Absolutely, yes. Believe. But to be fair, that's something no one had asked him to do. So it's not like he didn't have it in his bag. He wasn't good at it. It's just no one had asked him to do it yet.
Yeah, let's see. Matt Reynolds here says talks about one of the other fullbacks here. We just talked about Jedi Robinson. He says, so yeah, that was a game. It absolutely was, Matt. I think Scally is worth a shot after a not so thrilling outing by Moore. Yeah, that was the second time we saw Moore come
Yeah,
on and just not look up to speed compared to the rest of the players. I don't know if we're not going to go to Yedlin. I don't know why we went to Moore again. And is Scally going to get an opportunity in this World Cup? That's yet to be seen. But I don't think Moore was up to it in this one.
I don't think so either. He caused a turnover that U.S. had some numbers for that could have gone for that second goal. I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, maybe he's one of Greg's guys that you just can't you can't convince him otherwise. But
But Greg
I,
didn't call him in throughout World Cup qualifying. He just
I,
finally made. It's so weird that
he
the
did.
two
To,
players.
to be fair, when Serginho Dest went down injured, he called in Shaq Moore over Joe Scally.
But
In
yeah,
qualifying.
but that was a situation where there was a lot of right. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's a weird situation where Haji Wright and Shaq Moore, the two guys who seem to be like the oddballs on this roster, the guys nobody was expecting, are getting a lot more minutes than players you would expect to get minutes, like maybe Yedlin or Scally or Jesus Ferreira up top. We just talked about Jedi Robinson. Let's talk about the left center back in this game, Tim Ream. I thought just another tremendous game from Tim Ream in possession of the ball.
yeah. I mean, gosh, we sound like broken records when we talk about Tim Ream. He's great. I mean, this is a guy who knows that there is no tomorrow, and he has just been so consistent, so good, and such a leader out there. There were moments out there where you could see the guys looking to Tim, and Tim's barking out orders, and that is something that we lacked during World Cup qualifying. I mean, it's neither here nor there because we're going to the round of 16, but qualifying may have been a little bit easier if we had Tim Ream back there.
His partner tonight was Cameron Carter Vickers. Mixed bag for him. I felt
Yeah.
like for me, there were moments where I understood why he was in the game, where he stepped forward off that defensive line whenever the U.S. had the ball in possession, and he stepped into the midfield line and kind of looked for passes there. But I don't know if it was enough for me, considering there were moments where some of the players were yelling at him about his positioning on the field. He got some earfuls a couple of times there. And you just saw at the end of the game, whenever Zimmerman came on, just the aerial dominance that he gives you whenever he's in the game. I don't know if I would go with Zimmerman with Cameron Carter Vickers over Zimmerman again, but it's not like he had an awful game. So
Yeah, he was fine. Also, his communication was a little lacking. Especially there was this one time with Tyler Adams where he needed CCV to shout that he had a man on, and they wound up picking Tyler Adams' pocket. He wasn't terrible, but I would go back to personally. I would go back to Zimmerman. I think his aerial presence is too big of an asset to leave off the bench, especially when when Tim Ream is distributing so well.
yeah, I mean, I see Mark Baker here says CCV ground play, Zimmerman air play. I just don't know if we got enough from CCV on the ground to really justify like his inclusion in the game over Zimmerman. We'll see. It's going to be a different game against the Netherlands, and we'll talk about that in the future. At right back, Serginho Dest had one of the plays of the game, getting in behind, squaring it across for the goal. Outside of that, I mean, it felt like he was dangerous every time he got loose on that right flank. He continues to be a major asset in the U.S.'s build-up phase. What were your thoughts on Serginho Dest's performance?
You know, he to his credit has never really. He thinks he can beat everybody on the ball, and to his credit, he hasn't been proven wrong too many times. I think there's some times where he should pass it in the final third rather than put a little half chance of a shot on goal, but in the buildup, he's really been phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about him in the buildup, except pass it in the final third. I think not all of them are going to be like that World Cup qualifier in Columbus.
Yeah, that's the knock on Dest, I think, right now, at least in this U.S. men's national team setup, is so often from that right wing position, he's able to find himself with the ball in the right channel, facing center backs and in a really power position where he can create things for the U.S. And so often in this tournament, we've seen him look for his own shot, which is usually not the best option. And it's a bit frustrating. I hope part of his maturation process is whenever he gets to those positions, because he can get to those positions because of his incredible ability with the ball at his feet, is to look for players to play in, look for his teammates, and look to create higher percentage goal scoring opportunities than what we've seen from him so far. Outside of that, I mean, the the performance we needed out of Serginho Dest. I mean, there's been times where we've seen a lackluster Serginho Dest, either for Barcelona or for the U.S. men's national team. We haven't gotten that in this tournament. We've gotten a very good Serginho Dest, and he's a big reason why the U.S. is going through to the round of 16. Another big reason why the U.S. is going through to the round of 16. Let's go up to the midfield. Let's go to the captain, Tyler Adams. Your thoughts on Tyler Adams' performance?
I mean, what more can we say about the guy? He really has been phenomenal, putting out fires everywhere. He's just a gamer, and it's wonderful to see, that the U.S. captaincy is in good hands for probably the next two World Cups. I mean, this guy was great. I also thought he was good in the buildup. He picked his moments to help out in the buildup and when to go forward. But then he also was so good getting back and helping out, helping put out fires everywhere. We really can't say enough good things about Tyler Adams.
And the knock on Tyler Adams is what he does with the ball at his feet, particularly whenever a team is looking to play through him, which is not necessarily his strength. But there were some moments in this game where he just really did nice things with the ball at his feet. I remember one attack in particular where he dribbled out of a couple of guys and he found the ball in behind to release Josh Sargent. And Josh Sargent and Tim Weah were away. They also had Christian Pulisic trail running on that play. They end up with just not being able to get a ball, just not being able to create a shot on target. But it was another moment that it was Tyler Adams' ability to dribble out of pressure, to find that outlet pass, and not just an outlet pass, but an attacking outlet pass, a line-breaking outlet pass that sprung a goal-scoring opportunity for the U.S. A phenomenal player. Anything else on Tyler Adams?
Get him a Gillette deal. Get him something. Make him a household name in this country.
Yeah, he needs to pick up some checks after this tournament for sure. Another player who's probably going to be a household name after this tournament, hopefully, is Weston McKennie. Weston McKennie continues to. It doesn't seem like he's got 90 minutes in him in this tournament. It seems like he's got about 60. And I think I saw a moment in like the 55th minute where Iran released a ball into their right flank, our left flank, where Anthony Robinson was playing. And it looked like McKennie wanted to chase it down, but he just didn't have it left in the tank. And kind of right after that is whenever we saw Kellen Acosta come on. But before that, McKennie plays the ball over the top to Serginho Dest to create the first goal. He plays the ball in behind to Tim Weah that could have created the second goal that was called back by offsides. Outside of that, I mean, he was absolutely everywhere in this game. I think another phenomenal performance from Weston McKennie.
Yeah. That midfield, it really on their day can go toe to toe with absolutely anybody. I think Weston, like you said, only has about 60 minutes in his legs right now. He's coming off some really gnarly, a really nagging injury, but his distribution has been unreal. Those two balls that he played were absolutely just dimes. So. And he just brings this energy to the team that really is irreplaceable. So Weston, top marks in my book.
Yeah, impressive performance. I mean, considering his opening game against Wales, after watching that game, I thought like we're gonna have to play this tournament without Weston McKennie. We just don't have Weston McKennie. And then he comes out against England and is phenomenal. He comes out against Iran and is the guy who breaks it open for the U.S. who plays the pass, it creates the goal. Just incredible performance from West. That's what we need from him game in, game out. Let's go to the front line. Let's start with the goal scorer. Let's start with the golden boy, the left winger, Christian Pulisic. He was all over the place early on in this game. Just really involved, looking to be that creative player. Found himself in that left channel where he so often is, but also drifting into the middle, looking to create, and he ends up getting the goal to put the U.S. the game-winning goal ultimately for the U.S. in this game.
He's needed a moment to really purge the demons, get the monkey off his back, and kind of come to fruition, have the prophecy come to fruition that he is, the prince that was promised, for lack of a better term here. And he got his chance, and he didn't miss. And that's, you can't be happier for the guy. I mean, he has definitely been through the ringer, and he got his one shot, and he did not miss, and good for him. I can't be happier enough for the guy.
I see we got a $4.99 donation from Cub One Maker, who says, "How do Moore and Acosta have more minutes than Reyna? Greg Berhalter really said, let's park the bus for the entire second half, even though we were dominating." I mean, first of all, Moore and Acosta play different positions, so it's a little bit different. Acosta's kind of that shutdown midfielder that we have, and we got some midfielders who are not really 90 minutes fit, so we're always going to see substitutions in midfield. In this game in particular, I think what really messed up Gio Reyna's opportunity to play in this game was the early injury to Christian Pulisic.
Yeah.
Because what ended up happening is, with Brendan Aronson coming on for Christian Pulisic in the 45th, I'm assuming that Gio Reyna is not 45 minutes healthy right now, or at least Greg Berhalter believes that Gio Reyna is not 45 minutes fit right now. So with Brendan Aronson coming on in the winger position, it kind of takes the position away from Gio Reyna, because with Aronson in there, you have a winger who's not going to be making those penetrating runs in behind. He's a winger that's going to drop back and look for balls in defeat. And I think we saw that as soon as Gio Reyna came on. There were a few opportunities where he got the ball in the channel and played some pretty nice passes and tried to create to credit him. But on that right flank, we had Tim Weah, who's really the only winger we have that is going to provide that width if Christian Pulisic is not on the field. So it put us in a difficult position where you can't take off Weah, because then you're tactically at a disadvantage. But you want to get on Reyna, but then you're trying to defend for your life. It was just a weird game for Gio. Hopefully we get to see Gio against the Netherlands. You just got the feeling that Gio is going to make an impact on this tournament somehow, some way.
Yeah. For all the crap we have given Triple G for not playing Gio, this really didn't seem like a Gio game. And the decision to go with Aronson, I think really, Aronson, the two times he's been subbed on, has been for Weston McKennie. So
yeah.
By that logic, if he's not coming in for McKennie and he's coming in for Pulisic instead, then you have to assume that Gio isn't fully fit. Which, if he's not coming in at that position and Weah is really balling and stretching things at the back end there, then it wasn't really a night for Gio. And the fact that we were, I mean, throwing everybody back, Gio sometimes is a bit of a liability defensively, and Brendan is such a nagging guy. I mean, the Leeds fans call him the Yankee Badger. That I don't know if this was really the game for Gio.
I thought that we were going to have another situation where the fans were going to crucify Greg Berhalter, because I thought at the end of the game the substitution would be Jordan Morris on for Tim Weah, because Jordan Morris is that other player that provides that verticality, that word that everybody loves. And I thought people would lose their minds over that. But instead, Greg goes to the tactical switch and goes to the 5-man back line, which kind of slammed the door at that point. Let's move on to we just talked about Christian Pulisic. Let's move to the striker. Let's go to Josh Sargent. Josh Sargent, I was critical of Josh Sargent after the first game. I thought he just wasn't very involved against Wales, outside of his near post header and that moment where he had hold up play for the goal against for Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah. In this game, he was much more involved. He was holding the ball up all over the place. It felt like whenever the ball was going towards him, that he was going to win it. I thought he made a massive impact on the hold up play and on the possession game. Didn't really put himself in positions to score goals, and his big moments in the game were ended up being just not chances that really tested the keeper, or some kind of wasteful decision making in the final third. I'm thinking of that moment where he and Weah were in on the attack, and he ends up trying a tough pass back, and it gets intercepted, and you had Pulisic on that trailing run who was wide open. But I think it was the best striker performance so far in the World Cup from a U.S. striker. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he had some good moments. He had some bad moments. His hold up play was solid. Decision making, I think he got some happy feet there in the final third, where he saw the play that could be made, and he just couldn't make it. But overall, I mean, it's like kind of like what we said for the first game. He was involved in the first goal against Wales because of his hold up play, and I think he did that again pretty well tonight. And wasn't involved in a goal, obviously. But I don't think he played himself out, and I don't know if he played himself on. I think when Haji Wright came on, Haji Wright wasn't as busy as Josh Sargent was. I think Josh really made himself busy out there, and it became kind of more of a workman performance than it was anything really skillful.
You know, one thing I'm surprised that we haven't seen from Haji Wright is like runs in behind into the channel. We just haven't seen him stretch the defense all that much. And I thought that's what he would be doing, considering the way that he plays for his club. But we just haven't seen that much. We've seen him do some strong hold up play, but that's about it from Haji Wright. WF says we need to be more clinical going forward if we want to advance. We will not get those opportunities.
That's
I mean,
true.
that would be great. It would be great if we could be more clinical. I don't know that. I think that's. I just feel like it's more of a personnel issue than anything else. I mean, we just don't have clinical goal scorers. But I will say this. I will say we've been hearing that the U.S. is going to struggle to create chances, and that we got to score goals more, and it'll keep us from qualifying for the World Cup. It'll keep us from winning games in the World Cup. It'll keep us from getting out of our group in the World Cup. But yet here we are, just like every time there's been a hurdle, every time there's been something like that thrown down, the U.S. has been able to overcome it, and they're overcoming it by controlling the game in the midfield and being just stout defensively. Another game where the opposition, there were some dangerous moments, there were some nervy moments, but there weren't many clear-cut opportunities for Iran to beat us with shots.
I think if we're watching this game, if it's freaking Nashville SC versus the Columbus Crew, I don't think we're calling those moments too nervy. I think it's nervy because of the stakes. Because those opportunities that Iran had they were half chances at best. They weren't really. I mean, we're all freaking out and holding our breath, but Matt Turner had it covered, and a lot of the times they weren't even on frame. I mean, their best shot, the one that went wide, would have been blown dead for a foul on Taremi on Cameron Carter-Vickers. So it's not if we're watching this in normal season league play, I don't think we're freaking out too much.
That's true, but this is certainly not normal season league play. All right, the final player from the starting lineup to talk about is going to be the right winger. He is Tim Weah. We talked about him a little bit before, but I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. His ability to control the right side of the field, but also be that vertical outlet for this U.S. team, continues to just have really smooth moments in combination play. That right side of the field continues to be dangerous. In this game, we saw I'll have to go back and look at it, but it felt like we saw a midfield switch where Yunus Musa was in that right channel and Weston McKennie was in the left channel. So we saw that combination play between Dest, Musa, and Weah that we saw. I think it was the Costa Rica game that worked to such great effect. Those three players combined very well for one another. Tim Weah continues to provide excellent running, really intelligent movement. We saw that on display on that near chance goal that was ruled offsides, and that moment where Sargent was played in behind and their combination thereafter. Thoughts on Tim Weah in his performance tonight?
The dude's special. I mean, he definitely is an athletic freak, and he's got the skill. I think his club career has been a little stop-start, a little herky-jerky. But I think it's only a matter of time until this guy, if he can stay healthy for a good stretch of games, I think people are going to really realize that this guy is an absolute baller. So I wouldn't be surprised if the world is kind of waking up to the fact that Tim Weah is that dude.
Yeah, I think a lot's been said about Yunus Musa's performances in this World Cup, and for good reason. But Tim Weah is a special player.
Yeah.
He's every bit as talented as a lot of the players that get paid a lot of money to play at some of the biggest clubs in the world. And I do hope that this is lends itself as like a breakout moment for him. Very nearly 2 goals in this tournament, if not for ruled back by a very narrow offsides. Rando Calrissian donates $4.99. He says, "We out!" Exclamation point. Too many soggy diaper USMNT fans. Celebrate and please talk about the Greg haters. He's making it happen every game. Shaq Moore MVP. I mean, I do addressing the first part of his message here. I do think that this is a moment to celebrate. There's this idea that the U.S. has to get through with style points, and that's just not necessarily the case. A lot of times these World Cup games come down to just 1 or 2 goals. It's 1 or 2 moments, and whoever can keep the nerve. I think back to the 2010 World Cup final between the Netherlands and Spain, where Spain just had this incredible team, but that just ended up being like a tactical battle where neither team could get many shots on goal. Spain ended up with this, I believe it ends with a 1-0 victory, which is like the narrowest of goals against the Netherlands. But that's all you need. That's all you need to get through, man. They don't all have to be 4-0 drubbings. And I don't think we're going to get a lot of 4-0 drubbings in this tournament. That's just not the team that we have. I mean, we had an opportunity to run it up if things would have gone better. We do see we still see some poor decision making in the final third. This is a very young team still, and they're not quite in their prime. And I think we see some of that youthful exuberance whenever they get into the final third and they can make something happen. But all of a sudden, the blood rushes to their head and they make the wrong choice. So I think this team has gotten better every game of this tournament. They'll continue to do so. And I do think that they have a hell of an opportunity against a Netherlands squad that just hasn't been as impressive as Netherlands squads in the past. Thoughts on that so far, Brad?
So we've talked about this a lot, and I'm of the opinion that a coach shouldn't have more than one World Cup cycle. But to Greg's credit, this World Cup is an absolute success from him. I mean, you're undefeated. You haven't given up a goal from the run of play, and you're going through to the knockouts. So the Greg haters, and we've been critical of him, and we've been critical of his subs, and rightfully so, I think. But there are no pictures on a scorecard. And Greg got him through to the round of 16 at the World Cup. He got a very young team to believe in each other and believe in the in the system and in the process, and that's to his credit, man. I mean, we can hem and haw all we want about his decision making, but I mean, he did it.
Yeah, I'll say, I mean, to the last part of his donation, Shaq Moore MVP, disagree on that. I don't think Shaq Moore is winning any MVP anytime soon. As far as the Greg haters, my stance has always been that we are putting way too much into the coach's ability to control outcomes of games. The outcomes of games are decided by the players on the field. I think Greg is a I guess fine coach. He's an okay coach. He's a good enough coach. I don't know necessarily that you switch him out with other coaches that we're going to see vastly different results, because the results are determined by the players on the field. Once the whistle is blown, it's about the individual players winning their individual matchups, their decision making, their ability to execute. It's not like if Brazil lost their coach, they'd all of a sudden, like if Greg Berhalter became Brazil's coach, I think Brazil would still be favorites to win the tournament, and that's because Brazil are just so damn good at every position. I think we put way too much into tactics, which is why I don't crush Greg too much whenever we lose, and I don't praise Greg too much whenever we win. I don't think that it's as big a deal as everybody talks about. I do agree that I don't think the coaches should go for more than 2 windows. I don't know what's going to happen with Greg and this team and this cycle. It is an interesting case where you have such a young team that could potentially, like, you could take this very team and pencil in like a big chunk of these players in for the 2026 World Cup. It's not like we're going to go through a ton of rebuilding for 2026. But I'm generally for the idea that you need to switch out your coach every 4 years. There needs to be a new voice in the locker room. the players can get tired of the messaging and let's switch it out. And hopefully we'll be doing so well in this World Cup that Greg is able to move on to greener pastures. That's the ideal world for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of his big jobs was this is by far the most talented generation of players we've
Yeah.
had yet. And there are some great young prospects coming through the pipeline that this is only the beginning. But I think Greg's main job was to get these guys to play as a unit and to buy in. Tactics are important. And like you said, they can impact the game to an extent, but I really think the mentality of this group was Greg's main job, and I think he's done a good job with that.
Yeah, I see like Joseph Olianak says Greg was good, but not enough behind the back
There was
passes.
a good one. There was one good
There
one I
was
saw
one,
today.
yeah, there was one kind of late. It's odd. We haven't seen that very much. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on the Greg Berhalter subject. Now, as far as like the tactics in this tournament, Greg has gotten them spot on for me. In that first game against Wales, I mean, the U.S. controlled that game. In the game against England, the decision to go with the 4-4-2 really flummoxed England. It's something they talked about after the game. I believe I saw an interview with Jack Grealish, I think it was, where he talked about we weren't expecting them to play us like that, and it took us a minute to kind of figure out what to do. Credit goes to Greg for that. But at the same time, if you're the coach and you decide to run a 4-4-2 like that, it also very much helps to have Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, and Yunus Musa in your lineup in order to execute those things. So it's not just about the coach; it's about the players on the field. I see like Mike Irish here says not good on the adjustments, and I do wonder if part of that also goes to just the quality of the side and the quality of the players that we have on the bench relative to the players that we're able to do for the starting 11. It's whenever you bring on Kellen Acosta for Weston McKennie, you're going to have a drop off in performance. Whenever you bring on Shaq Moore or DeAndre Yedlin for Serginho Dest, you're just going to have a drop off in performance. We don't have a ton of players that are going to be able to maintain that momentum through 90 minutes. So it's been a difficult thing to manage that process, but we've gotten through it. We're on to the next round, and life is good.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, hey, we're in the round of 16, and I know I have a lot of receipts from a lot of analysts who are picking us to finish bottom of the group with only 1 point. I have one in mind, not mine, James Benge, whom I love as a person, but you picked us to finish with 1 point there, dude. So, and we're on to the round of 16.
Yeah, there's for sure been a lot of that. I mean, it's an interesting thing because so few knew how the U.S. was going to perform in this tournament, just because we've seen so much inconsistent performance from this group throughout World Cup qualifying and beyond. Of course, if your last point of reference of the U.S. men's national team was how the U.S. performed in September, you're going to have a not so great outlook on this group. So I understand why so many of the experts were picking against the U.S. But if you consider how good some of these players are whenever they are healthy, whenever they can come together, and whenever the whole unit is together, which we didn't get to see all that much, you can understand why this team is able to go toe to toe against teams like Wales and England and Iran.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, we're through, man.
We're through. So let's turn our attention to the next game. The U.S. has the Netherlands. It's going to be the top team from Group A. There's some concerns here. There's some concerns here for sure. We don't know about the health of Christian Pulisic. I see a lot of people in the chat speculating right now about Christian Pulisic's health. It was a scary moment there. If Christian Pulisic's not able to go, that is a major issue for the U.S. men's national team's attack. I thought Brendan Aronson did a pretty good job, but I don't think he's Christian Pulisic, and I think the defense treated him differently than they treated Christian Pulisic for sure.
Yeah.
As far as everyone else, we didn't see Gio Reyna again in this game. Weston McKennie continues to show that he's got about 55 to 60 minutes in him. Same with Serginho Dest. So what are your thoughts on how this team is going to look as we head into this second round, the round of 16?
It's gonna be interesting if Christian can't go, because you put in Brendan Aronson at his position, then that's not really the position that he likes to play that much. They don't play in similar styles, so that could be interesting. The Netherlands does worry me. They are a very quality side. It's definitely going to be interesting. I think not a lot's going to be able to. We can't really do much speculating right now. I think we got to see how the guys recover, to see if there are going to be that many changes, because the guys look gassed.
Yeah.
We gotta go get in the ice tub, get an IV. I think, I mean, we got a top medical staff out there. Take care take care of the boys, please.
Yeah, I see Tony Labruska makes the point that I think I was trying to make, but I might have fumbled a little bit. He says, to be fair, I'd rather play Netherlands than Brazil, France, Belgium, Portugal, Argentina, and Spain. And yeah, I think that's where I'm at with that. I feel like this Netherlands side, we might think about this Netherlands team from 2010, but this is not that team anymore. I'd say they're a notch below that right now. They're I mean, are they as good as England right now? That's a question. They're kind of in that ballpark. So if the U.S. was able to control the game against England, they definitely have a shot in this game. It's not like it's a big like an expected blowout or something like that from the Netherlands. I mean, we absolutely have an opportunity to go out and shock the world once again in the round of 16.
Yeah, I also wouldn't be surprised if this one goes into extra time. Because I think if we play like we played against England, it could finish 0-0. Maybe each team gets a goal here or there. I could definitely see this coming down to extra time.
I, for one, hope it doesn't go into extra time because we've seen that the U.S. just is not as good in the second half of games as they are in the first half. Maybe the extra few days gives the players enough time to recover a little bit more. Maybe some of these players are gaining match fitness throughout this tournament, but it can't really, probably doesn't help having to run 90 minutes or 60 minutes every 4 days.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Anything else on this game, on this celebration party, as we look forward to the round of 16 game Saturday against the Netherlands?
I'm just really proud of this team. I've covered them for so long, and they were able to tune out all the distractions, all the noise, and go out there and do a job. It's a job that not a lot of people thought they could do. I mean, this is a young group of guys that their one job was to make us believe and get us excited for 2026. But hey, what about 2022? Why not? Like you said, I respect the Netherlands, but I don't necessarily fear them. So why not? I mean, that these guys seem to really have a belief in each other. They can absolutely get together and go for it. So my thought, I think I'd leave everybody with is just, why not us? Why not us? Why not now? Why think about 2026 when you got 2022 right in front of you?
Absolutely. It's well said, man, because I think coming into this tournament, a lot of us were looking forward to 2026 and saying, if this team is able to get out of the group, it'll be a strong performance with them. I know Greg Berhalter said the goal is to get out of the group, and then the second tournament begins, and we'll see what happens from there. The U.S. has a matchup which I think that they can. I think that they can do it. I don't think they'll be favored, but I think that they have an opportunity to shock the world against this Netherlands team. I'm incredibly proud of these guys. Some really gutsy performances. After September, there was just a lot of fear that these guys would come out and just it would be crap and crap and crap like we saw in September, and it would just be a quick 0-3 from the U.S. That's not what we saw. They went undefeated through group play. They had a couple of games where things really could have gone their way. I mean, they could have ended up with 2 victories with that Wales game. Things could have gone either way against England, an incredible performance with them. So I think we're riding a high into the round of 16 for sure. Let's see. Rando Calrissian has a $4.99 donation. He says, what would be better if Pep or Spalletti were coach of USMNT? And Greg, we trust. The Dutch are getting squished. I mean, I appreciate the enthusiasm there. One thing to be said is that a lot of the issues that this team has are personnel issues. I mean, we just don't have a striker, and that's been the main issue with scoring goals throughout the World Cup. I don't know what a top level coach comes into this team and does, and I don't know that there's many top level coaches that are looking to coach international teams. and
No.
especially not top-level coaches that are looking to coach international teams for nations that are not their own. You just don't see that very often. So I just don't know where these much greener pastures are that are going to really add too much to this team any more than we're seeing right now. Any final thoughts, Brad?
It's a good day, and I hesitate to say that whatever happens from here on out is gravy, because this team can stand toe to toe with anybody on their day. So it goes back to the old Ted Lasso mantra: just believe. You just
Yeah.
gotta believe. And I think that they can spring a surprise, make us all believe, and go through to the round of. And hey, it really wasn't the last group stage game today. It was a round of 32 game. You had to win to move on. And now they have that mentality in them that to be able to see a game out and to put up or shut up when it matters most. So, just go for it. I mean, there is no tomorrow. You're in it now. Don't look forward to 2026. Focus on 2022. Go get them. Go make us proud, boys.
I feel like a soldier after a great battle, like that the war's not over. You know that you just won a battle. You know that you could die tomorrow, but at the same time, like take a minute to enjoy, to celebrate. It doesn't matter how it happened. You don't get style points for winning these games. The tournament resets right now, and we got the knockout games ahead of us. Mission 1 accomplished. Mission 2 starts Saturday. I think
Absolutely.
it's okay to be excited that the U.S. won
Yes.
this game, guys. I'm really excited about this. Gur007 with a 49 donation says, watching all 3 of the Netherlands games, I think we have a good shot to beat them. I, for one, am very excited about it. Yeah, I watched a little bit of the Senegal's. I've watched a little bit of all the games with the Netherlands and Senegal and Ecuador, and I didn't see like super dominant, scary teams in that group. I was hoping that the U.S. could somehow get through, or that Ecuador could somehow win the group, because I feel like that's a little bit more favorable matchup for us. But I'm happy that it's Netherlands and not like Brazil or Spain or a team like that. 706 says with a $1.99 donation, I'm just scared of Gakpo. Most of their players are garbage. I wouldn't go that far, but I don't know how many of you have watched Gakpo in this tournament, but he is like one of the young phenoms. He's a striker that's probably going to get a lot of money after this tournament. He's been doing incredible things for that team, and yeah, he's definitely a scary player. But so is Harry Kane, so is Mehdi Taremi, so is Gareth Bale, and the U.S. were able to handle those challenges well enough. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know that I have too much more to say. You guys are coming with donations, so I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for joining us after this game. I hope even those out there who wanted more from this team, who wanted the team to play with a little bit more style, who wanted the team to run up the score, I hope you can appreciate that these moments, that these winning, getting out of your group and getting to the round of 16, even for like established blue chip world powers in soccer, these moments aren't taken for granted, man. It's not all the time. Like it's not the expectation necessarily for most of the teams in the world to be able to consistently get out of the group as often as the U.S. has. 4 years ago, we were watching this tournament with our team sitting at home. Now we are in the round of 16 of this tournament. So it's definitely something from a fan perspective that you should be able to get excited about. The outcome of this game does not determine the outcome of the next game. None of the outcomes of any of the games previously determine the outcome of the next game. It's going to be a new challenge, a new opportunity for the U.S. And I think the U.S. has an opportunity to make it to the quarterfinals. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't yet. Thank you guys for sticking with us throughout the World Cup. We'll be back soon to talk to you guys again with another live stream. I'll probably be doing a post-game analysis, tactical analysis of this team and this game from this Iran team and this Iran game. But until then, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Thank you to the Tier 2 members, Manuel Oliveras, Matthew Doyle, Matthew Hanna, Michael Baker, Dan McVeigh, Mike Irish, Aaron M., and 427 Motorsport LLC. On behalf of Brad, thank you guys for watching. My name is Sam, and this has been the Yank Report, brought to you by Bet.